of it last night, second run tonight, and then intend to present it live at Vision Expo. So please do give us feedback, good or bad, about it. And hopefully you'll leave today with some pearls, even after your many years of experience with VSP. As a New Yorker, I got to throw out there, hope everybody remembers 9/11. And 24 years ago, it's amazing. So we've got a whole generation that wasn't even born when that happened. So it's up to us to kind of keep that memory alive and to not forget. But on that note, let's go on and talk a little bit about contact lenses today. So this has been a program that's been requested for quite some years. Finally got approval to get it all together. And hopefully we've got something here that can help doctors work well with VSP's contact lens programs. So these are our learning objectives. We're going to go through all of the programs that VSP currently offers for contact lens services. And then most doctors are most interested in the last couple of categories with the covered contact lenses and the visually necessary contact lenses. But as always, the goal is to optimize opportunities for our practices and benefits for our patients so that we're all successful. And this presentation will give us some resources that we can bring back to our staff to make sure that we're fully utilizing these programs and properly utilizing them. So let's start with some basic rules for all of the contact lens benefits under VSP. Contact lens benefits and exams are always separate from the wellness vision exam. And it's elected that the patient wants to they're either currently wearing or they request to wear contact lenses, and they want to have additional contact lens services delivered either during the day of their wellness check or at a different date. All VSP programs, when it comes to a fitting, will encompass a 90-day fitting period. Anything past that fitting period then becomes a private transaction between you and the doctor, and we'll hit on that a few times during the presentation. Additional services like contact lens insertion and removal training, and we'll have a list of other services, are included in the fitting. They're not separately reimbursed. And I'll stress the need for you to have published fitting fees, so you should differentiate a fitting fee between an existing and a new patient, and usually your pricing difference is going to reflect the additional time that it takes for things like insertion and removal training, but that is not a separate line item. Also, VSP has historically excluded programs such as CRT, Ortho-K, and myopia management for fitting services, but we will give you a pearl on how you can tap into material benefits for those programs. Lastly, the contact lens rule that's in place, regardless of fitting or refit, you should always have an opportunity to give the patient a copy of their prescription at the end of their fitting or evaluation process. Prescription criteria. So plus or minus 50 is always the magic number with VSP and most vision plans. So whether it's plus or minus 50 in overall power, or it can be prism, anisometropia, cylinder. Visually necessary contact lenses does have some exceptions to this rule for plano lenses under specific conditions, and we'll touch on that in that section. But otherwise, plus or minus 50 power is the magic number. As I alluded to, non-covered fittings are corneal refractive therapy, Ortho-K, getting some feedback from somebody, so make sure everybody's on mute. CRT, Ortho-K, and myopia management. So these are considered private transactions between the provider and the patient, and there are no VSP coverages that will contribute toward the professional side of these specialty services. However, most doctors don't realize that you can use an elective contact lens material benefit toward these materials. So this could be your first pearl of the evening to share with doctors, that if someone has a exam material allowance and they want to use that in lieu of their glasses, for one of these programs, they can use that money to contribute toward the material costs. Additional exclusions. Pretty typical things that we might have in our offices with service contracts, etc. Replacement of lost and damaged lenses, modification or maintenance of especially gas perm lenses, any refittings after the initial 90-day fitting period, manufacturer warranties. These things are all basically included in our agreed fitting with the patient and should not be included. There are exclusions from the system. Office visit to treat corneal lens pathology, that should be going under medical, whether it's your general medical or going into essential medical eye care. I just had a patient last week that came in with corneal edema due to contact lens heavy depositing. And so that immediately switched from a basic contact lens evaluation over to an office visit, in his case under essential medical eye care. Actually just saw him for follow-up today and finished treatment of that secondary condition. Solutions and other contact lens supplies, again, would not be under the VSP benefits. And bandaged contact lenses, these actually can be covered under essential medical eye care. There are some medical plans out there that also will cover bandaged contact lenses, and I would tell you to refer to your individual plans in your area, but it is a covered benefit under essential medical eye care. So, a couple major practice tips for just good practice management within your offices, as well as keeping in compliance with VSP and all vision plan requirements. First one is create a printed office reference document that documents all of your contact lens fitting, usual and customary fees for both elective contact lenses as well as visually necessary contact lenses. So hopefully none of you are at the point where you just have one contact lens evaluation fee for everybody. I would encourage you to have different levels of fees ranging from a basic progress evaluation all the way up to as many specialty lens fits as you're comfortable doing. My office has 9 levels on my published contact lens fee documentation. And those should include whether it's a new or established patient, the type of contact lens being fit is usually the biggest guidance toward the justified level of fitting. And that will then go in play with the level of care or the complexity of the fit, which usually entails how much follow-up you're going to have. We can't bill per visit because of that 90-day fitting period, but still you can document complexity based on lens types used and diagnostic level of what you're actually working with. So make this as detailed as you can, have it in print, have it available if anybody should ask for it. Along those lines, you also should have a printed resource of your usual and customary contact lens fees. So this is something that a lot of us have for our staff. I have both of these documents and supporting documents in my room because I spend time going through the patient's explanation of benefits. And when they ask for a contact lens fitter evaluation, I'm directly referencing what their particular level of coverage is, and then showing them in print. Okay, well, this is how much your fitting is. This is how much your lens supply would be. My particular sheet shows a single box cost. I don't necessarily do 6-month supply analysis. Some doctors want that for the people that are coming in and saying, I just want what my plan covers. That usually sometimes will come into a 6-month supply, but I'm always trying to educate the value of the annual supply, especially because of the manufacturing rebates that are in place. And then I give my patient my grand total of their annual supply after rebates. And I actually can break it down to cost per day for them as well, especially with a new patient asking, well, how much does a daily disposable cost compared to a monthly? And when you break it down to cost per day, many times they're surprised at how inexpensive it is to, say, move into a daily disposable. So those are two documents that if you don't already have, I would highly encourage you to create as soon as possible and have them available through your practice. So let's talk about the specific contact lens benefit types. Those types are contact lens exam copay with materials allowance. This is VSP's primary product that they are marketing to clients. And we're seeing more and more of these copay plans coming around. The classic plan that's been around for a very long time, the exam and combined contact lens allowance, covered contact lenses, and visually necessary contact lenses. So let's start with the contact lens exam copay with materials allowance. So all contact lens plans are separated, as I said in one of the first slides, from the well vision exam. So that means you can do your contact lens fitting same day or a different day because they really are separate entities. So your well vision is covered with any copays that apply, and then the patient elects to use their plan for contact lenses in lieu of using their glasses benefits, at least on the material side. So with a copay plan, all contact lens plans were basically going to be discounting under VSP by 15%. We give our 85% of usual and customary fitting fees, and then the patient with this particular plan is either going to have a $60 or $25 copay. Now, one of the biggest misconceptions for this plan, especially when it first came out, was that doctors thought that they only could collect the maximum of the $60, and that's incorrect. VSP will still keep us whole if you reimburse them, or I'm sorry, if you bill them for the remainder of your 85% of usual and customary fees if it's above and beyond the $60. So if you have doctors that aren't taking advantage of that, please let them know that that's the way this system is designed to be used. There is no copay for contact lens materials. That is a separate allowance and a dollar amount. And as I said, contact lenses are instead of lens and frame benefits if they choose to use it. Always input your usual and customary fees when you're billing VSP so that the system can calculate your remaining reimbursement properly. You don't want to put in your discounted 85% usual and customary fee because the system then will discount it another 15% and you won't get the appropriate fees that you deserve. So let's look at what it looks like on the explanation of benefits for these patients. Charge the lesser of $60 copay or 85% of usual and customary fees. Contact lens materials, $150. With this second case, same thing, but we have a contact lens material benefit of $175. This third example, actually, the patient only has a $25 copay with a contact lens material benefit of $150. So let's see how that works out as far as patient out-of-pocket costs and VSP billing. You have a usual and customary evaluation fee of $100. So you're going to do your discount that takes that down to $85. The patient's copay is $60, so the remaining overage is $25. So the only thing you collect from the patient is their copay. But don't stop there. Bill to VSP for your usual and customary fee of $100. The system will make the calculation and you will be reimbursed the additional $25 to keep you whole on your evaluation fees with the 15% discount. Here's an explanation of payment showing that. So we have a professional fee in this case of $150. You see that we were paid $127.50. That's a combination of $60 copay from the patient and $67.50 from VSP. We had a $360 contact lens material fee. So $150 of that was the allowance from VSP. The patient pays a remainder of $210. So we have a total reimbursement of $487.50. So exam and combined contact lens allowance. Again, this has been around for quite some time, so hopefully your staff is familiar on how to calculate for it. But there's some pearls with this as well. So your patient now has a combined dollar amount that is going to go toward their contact lens exam and materials. There are no co-pays for this program. And we are allowed to balance bill the patient for any contact lens exam or material fees not covered by the plan after we put in their 15% discount on the fitting side. Just like all plans, contact lenses are in lieu of glasses benefits if it's used. These appear as so. You've got a 15% off the contact lens exam, and then you apply $110 toward their total contact lens services. And we're going to hit on one of the pearls of that second line that says the contact lens, if a patient receives contact lens exam services only, the patient is responsible for the contact lens exam services over $60. Here's a similar plan, except they have a $220 allowance. We're seeing more VSP access indemnity plans that are usually attached to medical contracts. They look a little different, but they work the same way. This particular one is 15% off contact lens exam services, then apply $100 toward contact lenses. The Exam Plus with allowance, we see these under Medicare plans. This particular one is, again, 15% off contact lens services with $500 toward contact lenses. So let's look at the math for these. Again, we've got our $100 evaluation fee. So we've got that $85 total professional fees after the discount. Contact lens materials in this case are $150. So your combined contact lens pricing to the patient is $235. They have a $120 allowance. So your staff should be calculating the patient owes $115, and they should be collecting that at the time of service if they're ordering lenses same day. Then you're going to turn around, you're going to bill VSP for that balance. So they calculate that $85 reimbursement, and that comes back to you. And they also calculate the additional $35 above and beyond the $115 that the patient paid. So you stay whole at $235 for the materials plus the fitting. What if the patient says, well, doc, I really like you and I like getting my exam with you, and yes, I want a copy of my contact lens prescription to get that renewed, but I'm going to go down the road and get my contacts online, or I'm going to get them at Costco or wherever they think that they're going to get a better deal. And with them thinking they're going to get a better deal, that's where you have that worksheet in your exam room to show them your annual costs, especially at the rebates, because in many cases, if you're priced competitively, you can do as well or better than where they think they're going to make a savings. But let's take a patient that has a contact lens evaluation fee of $150. So this is over the $60 threshold. So the total after the 15% discount is $127.50. VSP is going to reimburse us $60. So that means the patient out-of-pocket cost that day is going to be $67.50, and that should be calculated and collected at the day of service because they're walking with their prescription for their materials. You're going to bill VSP for that full usual and customary fee, and they are going to calculate that they owe you $67. I'm sorry, they're going to owe you $60 combined with the $67.50 paid by the patient, for a total compensation of your $127.50. So that uses the patient's benefit toward your service, keeps you whole. Now, a caveat that if you want to educate the patient, when they go to that other vendor and try to get materials, that vendor is going to pull up their benefits, and it's going to say that their contact lens benefits were already used. So because you used it for the professional side, the system says that it's been utilized, and this can cause confusion and angst. So you're probably better off telling them that this is going to happen from the get-go. All the other vendor has to do is call VSP to clarify, and they will get a reauthorization for the remainder of the material fees after the monies that you collected have been deducted. Let's take a different, maybe more common example of that. And we're just doing a basic evaluation. This is probably a typical patient that comes in. They're happy in their lenses. You're happy with what they're doing with their lenses. You're really not making any changes. You're just renewing their prescription, and you have a $50 evaluation fee for that. So after the 15% discount, that comes down to $42.50. So if they want you to use their VSP to cover that evaluation fee, their evaluation is covered in full with no patient out-of-pocket costs. And you're not going to get any additional reimbursement. I'm sorry, you won't get additional reimbursement. You'll get your usual and customary reimbursement from VSP at $42.50 because it's less than the $60. So you get the exact amount that it would have been if you charged the patient in the office. This is where, again, I take the opportunity to educate the patient. I found in general with these types of patients, I'll tell them, I'll be happy to use your VSP, but you will have to go through this extra hurdle if you go to buy your lenses because they're going to have to get another authorization to get the remainder of your material benefits. I would recommend that you just pay your evaluation fee to me today, and that way you know your VSP benefits are still open in full for your benefits. Wherever you go, all they have to do is pull your authorization and you'll get your $120 or whatever your particular allowance is. And even if you come back to my office at a later date, there won't be any confusion. So, you know, that's a decision you can make within your practice, whether you want to use VSP to collect the money through the insurance and have no out-of-pocket cost for the patient, or if you want to leave their system alone so it makes it easier for them wherever they do decide to get their materials. VSP Vision Savings Pass. This is a plan that we're seeing a little more often. This is basically a direct competitor against especially iMed's flat discount plan. So it does give patient discounts to come in to see us as VSP providers, but that's really all it is. They don't have true material benefits. They just have a percentage discount. So in this case, it's the 15% off usual and customary contact lens fees, and we still collect 100% of our usual and customary for materials. So in this case, the patient has that $100 evaluation fee. We get a alternate evaluation fee of $85. Contact lens materials are $150, so the patient's out-of-pocket cost is $235. There is no claim to VSP because it's just a percentage discount agreement. So it's better than nothing for a patient, but it's basically just a flat 15% discount plan, similar to, say, a 20% discount plan on if they did the same thing with materials for glasses. So let's bridge into covered contact lenses. Okay, so this is a little more structured system. Sorry about that. Forgot to turn the phone off. Okay. Covered contact lenses. So this is often an additional or supplemental coverage to a patient's primary plan. And again, this is a pearl for hopefully your staff is always trolling for secondary coverages. And even with a well-trained staff, this can be discouraging that you get the primary plan, but they miss the secondary plan they had through the spouse for coordination of benefits or a safety program, or in computer glasses, or in this case, covered contact lenses, which is a pretty good benefit for the patient. I have a very large employer in the area with Tesla that has this plan, and believe me, they know they have it. So they come in asking for their contact lenses. So with this plan, basically, we have to supply both our fitting and evaluation fees and an annual supply of contact lenses under this program for a fixed copay. This is what the plan would look like in the explanation of benefits. And it just says that this is a covered contact lens program with a copay of $50. Reimbursement, we have an assigned fee schedule based on their regular wellness exam, and we also have an assigned fee schedule based on the total cost of the professional fees as well as the materials. and it's based on the type of lens that they are being fit in, with the usual 15% discount. We are not allowed to balance bill our patient for any differences between VSP's allowed amounts and our usual and customary fees. And again, it's all in the 90-day period. Anything after the 90-day period becomes a private transaction. Fees submitted to VSP should be the same fees as your usual and customary charges. When I told you that you should have a published set of contact lens fitting and evaluation fees, there should only be one version of that in your office. That applies to every single patient that comes through the door, whether it's a VSP patient, a private patient, or any other vision plan. You should only have one and only one set of fees for all of your levels of service. That's a major area where if you stray outside of that recommendation, you're out of compliance with what should be happening in the vision insurance industry. So in your provider manual, if you haven't already, I want you to go there. I want you to find this chart. And in the manual, the chart will be filled in with the maximum fees for these categories. This can't share fees during a presentation, but this is something that you should have printed and available for you and your billers in your office. There's basically going to be three pieces of paper that I'm going to tell you that you should go to the provider reference manual and print as a reference after today's presentation. And this is the first one. This is covered contact lenses and base visually necessary contact lens maximums. Here's an example of an explanation of payment for that type of program. So this is a person that came in with what looks like a basic renewal of a lens they were in with a $50 evaluation fee. That goes down to $42.50. There's actually a $7.50 chargeback because of the $50 copay, and my $42.50 is less than that. We have a year supply of lenses at $680, which is paid in full because with this particular permutation of diagnosis and lens type, obviously I'm falling under the cap because I got my full reimbursement of my usual and customary fees minus the 15% discount for the fitting. This program is the foundation for the same rules of visually necessary contact lenses. Now, there are two types of visually necessary contact lens programs. All of them are covered in full for, again, your fitting fees as well as a year supply of lenses, but these are covered in full based on the patient meeting established conditions. They must be eligible for materials at the date of service. This is important if you're a specialty contact lens fitter and you have doctors in the area referring patients to you. And this can be very frustrating where, let's say you are, the big keratoconic fitter in your area, and doctors have realized that. So they see the patient for an exam, they diagnose them with keratoconus, they want a contact lens fit. That doctor does not want to do that fitting. They're going to send it off to you because you're the person that's going to give them the best care. And unfortunately, what they did when they saw the patient is they used their benefits for glasses that day. And potentially it was a pair of glasses that weren't even usable for them. But what that just did is it voided their ability to use their visually necessary contact lenses because they're no longer eligible for materials during that either a calendar year if they have a January rotating plan, or a 12-month period if they have a month-based plan. So if you are getting referrals, educate your doctors. Hey, if you're going to send somebody to me and they have visually necessary contact lenses, don't get them a pair of glasses because then I can't use their benefits to do the fitting and they have to wait a year. Again, there are visually necessary base lenses, and these are revolving around refractive conditions, and visually necessary specialty lenses, which are usually abnormalities and pathological conditions. These plans are very easy to spot. They're going to be an additional line underneath the patient's elective contact lens benefit, and it'll just say necessary contact lenses. Criteria, see the manual, and it'll give their copay amount. If you don't see that line underneath their elective contact lens plan, they do not have necessary contact lenses available to them under their VSP. So not everybody has it. There's a lot out there, but not everybody. So visually necessary base lenses. These are, again, for refractive conditions. The three qualifying conditions are nystagmus, anisometropia greater to and equal to 3 diopters in any meridian, and high ametropia in either eye greater than plus or minus 10 diopters. And those numbers are based on the spectacle prescription. So remember, with contact lenses with higher prescriptions, we're vertexing. So you have to base the eligibility of these patients on their spectacle prescription, which in some cases versus plus versus minus. If they're on the edge, sometimes they're going to qualify and sometimes they're not. But make sure you're looking at the spectacle prescription. Patients meeting the criteria for nystagmus, anisometropia, and high ametropia are not required to show an improvement of best corrected visual acuity by 2 lines compared to spectacles. This is a rule we're going to talk about here in a minute when it comes to visually necessary specialty lenses. It's created a lot of confusion with doctors when it came out a couple years ago. And for the base lenses, these subsets of refractive cases, that rule does not apply. And many doctors have a misconception about that. Your covered contact lens and base visually necessary contact lens maximums are in the same table. Okay, so you already have been told to print that table from the covered contact lens program. It will be the same table that is applicable to the base visually necessary program as well. So when you are doing a claim, you need to put in for the contact lens reason that these are necessary contact lenses. You have to get the appropriate diagnostic code in there for the refractive condition, and you have to specify that spectacle prescription and put it on the lab invoice, because that's the way the computer will generate whether the claim is accepted or denied based on the parameters of those prescriptions meeting the minimum requirements. Example of explanation of payment for this. So in this one, if we go down to the bottom, the contact lens professional fee was $160, which comes down to VSP paying us $136 after the discount. Looks like this patient actually was only using a lens in one eye. So we have total material benefits of $280. So again, that fell under the maximum allowance in the table for a total reimbursement of $489. So visually necessary specialty lenses. These are for ocular abnormalities that contact lenses provide improved best corrected visual acuity, improved quality of life. And this has always been the case with this program, but over the years, unfortunately, it's been abused, and some doctors have taken advantage of it, where maybe it wasn't appropriate to do a visually necessary claim because the patient actually still had very good vision with spectacles, and if they wanted contact lenses as an option, they really should be using their elective plan. So that's why VSP did enact in June of 2024 the requirement that we had to document and show a 2-line improvement in best corrected visual acuity to be eligible for this program. So this is something that definitely needs to be recorded in your records and justify the claim. Some conditions are excluded from this program, and they are indicated on the table of the diagnostic code. The most common one is colored contact lenses. This is the actual tables in the manual. This is the second set of documents that, if you haven't, you should print and have at hand for all of your billable diagnostic codes for visually necessary contact lenses in the specialty category. The ones with the double asterisks are the conditions that do not require best corrected visual acuity by 2 lines. Those, like I said, are normally revolving around colored contact lenses. And these are the conditions where colored contact lenses improve quality of life, usually because of an irregular pupil, excess light entering the eye, asthenopia, and all the conditions that go with that. And the other factor of this that differs is this is the only exception where if you have the appropriate diagnostic code under this program with the appropriate condition, they actually can be plano lenses because the patient might not necessarily have power in that lens. We're just utilizing the specialty tinting for increasing quality of life due to comfort. Keratoconus. Keratoconus is probably the most common condition that is billed for under the specialty program. A lot of doctors, even if they're not true specialty fitters, will work with basic keratoconic patients and can take advantage of this program. And this is where history, documentation, these are the important factors as far as keeping in compliance with this program. So specifically for keratoconus, we obviously need a detailed patient history, indication for the fitting, keratometry, best corrected visual acuity with refraction, then documenting that the contact lenses do indeed provide 2 lines of improvement compared to spectacles. Obviously, slit lamp examinations and fitting notes around our diagnostic lenses and final fit. And for keratoconus, it does specifically require either corneal topography or anterior OCT of the cornea to justify these claims under the visually necessary contact lens program.
Hey, Dr. Winnick, you've got a question from Dr. Fontenot.
Sure.
Sorry to bother you, but how do you know if you're going to be able to improve 2 lines of visual acuity if you don't go forward with the fitting and order the specialty like contact lens, the scleral and stuff? You know what I mean? Like you almost have to go forward to prove it. So the patient's going to be out of pocket for that. How do people handle that?
Well, the first one is, can they get to 20/20 with their glasses? And if they can, well, you're done in the water. So you're gonna have to have a patient in at least one eye that's going to give you a best corrective visual acuity of say 20/40 or worse. So that's your baseline. And then is there a level of unknown between when you start the fitting and you've established that they have poor visual acuity with glasses? Yes, there is. But you also technically aren't starting the fitting until you get a diagnostic lens on the eye. Remember, there's a difference between talking to the patient about when you're going to initiate the fit and when you actually start the fit and start the billing. I actually won't even submit my billing until at least after my first visit, so I know that I'm billing the appropriate program. If you got somebody that's really on the fence, I would advise you to tell them, it's like, well, if I can prove that we can get you to see better, this is going to be a fully covered service. If you don't get a significant increase in visual acuity, then we always have your elective plan to fall back on. But again, I'm not going to disagree that there are people that are in the gray zone, but a lot of these patients, it's pretty straightforward. They don't see well with glasses, and you're going in this direction because you're thinking usually a rigid lens solution is going to give them better acuity by creating a more regular refractive surface with the air.
Great, thank you.
We've got one more question, Dr. Winnick, from Dr. Lee.
Sure.
So for the patients for keratoconic patients who may not fit this criteria, if we bill the elective contact lens plan, and let's say they only have to pay $60, but let's say my contact lens fit is $800 to $1,000 for a scleral lens fit, because as you know, it requires quite a few follow-ups. Like, would VSP pay me $1,000 with 15% off? I tried to ask this question to the customer service and they never got back to me. And those are the patients who are, 2025, but with diplopia and complaining about their glasses.
So I would tell you, by the way the manual is written and the programs are set up, this would there's really only two major plans. There's the exam um, and material plan. So that's kind of a moot point because we have a fixed dollar amount that they're going to pay us. The $60 copay plan technically does not differentiate what type of lens you're using, and VSP keeps us whole on our material fees. So by the book of the manual, that patient, you should be able to bill using that $60 copay plan, and the program will keep you whole with your usual and customary fees. Now, the absolute caveat to that is you will probably trigger yourself as an outlier in that behavior, which isn't necessarily wrong, but your documentation has to be spot on to justify that that is your usual and customary treatment, just as if that patient came in and they were a total private pay fitting for that same scenario. So to answer your question, yes, but you've got to run a real tight ship if somebody then says, hey, that's a pretty big claim. Let's go see what's going on. Does that make sense?
Understood. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So speaking of scleral lenses, with your claim submission on sclerals, you've really got a couple of codes that you need to put into box 19, 2530 or 2531. You have to specify a lens type of scleral and the specific manufacturer or brand that you're using. If you do not do that correctly and completely, you will be reimbursed at a lower rate. And then this is another misconception of doctors. Hybrid lenses, so gas perms with a soft skirt, are not scleral lenses. They are hybrids. And so they are not reimbursed at the scleral level. They are reimbursed at the next level down, which is a V2599. And that's where you put in a hybrid lens, manufacturer and brand. You'll see in the title, it also says proprietary designs. So at the same accord, if you have say a Rose K lens, that is not a basic spherical gas perm. Don't bill it under a V2510. It's a V2599 because that is a proprietary design specifically for keratoconus. It's not a basic spherical gas perm. If you don't do these codes again correctly, you'll get bumped down to a basic spherical gas permeable reimbursement level. Piggyback lenses are still out there. We've got less of them because of the increase in scleral fittings, but there are still patients that can't handle gas perms or even sclerals, or maybe it's an established patient that's just been in a piggyback lens system for many years. So again, use your appropriate codes for either a spherical gas perm or soft lens carrier. Put piggyback lenses in box 19. And most importantly, you absolutely must document that the patient is unable to tolerate rigid gas permeable lenses in your record to justify this level of claim. Contact lenses for with spectacles over contact lens wear. This is amazingly a part of this program that is really overlooked by a lot of doctors and is completely appropriate in many conditions. And of this list of conditions, probably the most common one is presbyopia. So I don't know how many of us out there are fitting our keratoconic patients that are over 40 with bifocal keratoconic lenses so they can be completely glasses free with presbyopia. So many of these conditions, you're going to be getting best corrected visual acuity for distance, but if they're presbyopes, you still have an issue. Well, the program doesn't leave them out there. You can file for a secondary claim to wear glasses over the contact lenses for presbyopia, as well as all these other conditions that would be appropriate for glasses wear over the contact lens system that you fit. A prescription is required for these lenses, so you can't do any funky business with plano lenses at all. And you know, if you're playing by the rules, there really wouldn't be any reason why you would be doing plano lenses. This is a manual process, so you have to call VSP, obtain a claim number, Have all of your relevant information about your fitting available when calling for the questions that they'll ask you, and then request a spectacle lens claim within 30 days of the contact lens submission date. With Keratoconics, we actually have a full year submission window for these types of secondary claims of glasses over the contact system. This is your third table that you're going to print, and it looks like the other one, except when you go to the provider manual, there will be different numbers in those columns. So you're going to print your table that looks like this for both the covered and base necessary contact lenses. You're going to print your diagnostic codes for your specialty visually necessary contact lenses, and you're going to print this one that will give you your maximums for those specialty fits. Documentation, again, I'm going to stress over and over and over again, it's all about documentation to justify the level of reimbursements that you're asking for and the level of care that you're delivering through VSP. So you want to be very diligent about documenting your materials and contact lens types. All of your prescriptions, of course, are given following regular FTC rules. You should be talking about lens replacement schedule, care, cleaning, topography, all of your special testing and measurements. Of course, you need your baseline manifest refractions to show those 2 lines of improvement. And then dates lenses were dispensed, including quantity and delivery method. Other key takeaways: there's no balance billing with these programs. And you want your VSP billed amounts to be right off that one and only sheet of fees that you have published in your office, and they're consistent with the level of care they delivered. Global fees are not appropriate. You have to itemize your contact lens exams separate from your materials, and you must bill for both materials and the fitting all under your claim. VSP is only going to cover an annual supply. So if you calculate your usual and customary fees and the annual supply, and you look at that table and it's like, oh, look, there's money left over, you can't give them more lenses. It's an annual supply and only an annual supply, nothing more and nothing less. You can't use any additional coverages to play games in that area either. What we talked about before, VSP does not cover for refractive surgical cases such as LASIK, PRK, and RK directly, but we do have a subset of these patients that have underlying secondary ectasias, corneal deformity, scarring, etc., that then those diagnostic codes do become appropriate for this program, even if they are after they've had refractive procedures. And like we talked about before, corneal abrasions with bandage contact lenses are not appropriate under this program. That's something that should be utilized either through major medical or essential medical eye care. Beating the drum again, print a copy of your office fee schedules, print a copy of your contact lens material fees. And remember, if you're ever asked for documentation of a case, especially with electronic medical records, we have things in separate areas now. It's not like you just hand somebody a chart with all your paper. Now we have our electronic health record. We also have our practice management system, and then we also probably have some additional paper records in the office. So every single document and every single system with an appropriate patient, if you're looking at key documentation for these fittings, remember to look at all of your different sources and know that, oh, yeah, that's right, my dispensing dates are actually still written in a little book in the lab, and I don't put them in the electronic record. Or just contact lens materials in general. Their dispensing is probably living in your practice management system instead of your electronic health record. So some final reminders. I think I've made the point about documentation, diagnosis, fitting, materials, etc. Always refer to the provider manual for the latest and greatest and details of what's required. Go to VSP online. then go to your manuals, click on manuals, and you can just go right into the quick search now and put contact lenses, and it'll take you right to all of these programs. If all else fails, call VSP, and they'll look at the manuals themselves or walk you through it. Your parting thought: if you can't produce the documentation that was done, it never happened. No matter how much you say, yeah, but that's standard of care and I always do that. If you didn't write it down, it never happened. So that is the conclusion of this talk. So I will get out of my share screen here. I will give it back to Stacy, and we can do Q&A as you guys like.
Perfect. Thank you, Dr. Winnick. We do have the first question from Dr. Haig.
Hey, yeah, quick question. So sometimes I get doctors asking me same day discounts. What's VSP's view on that? Meaning that if a cash pay patient comes in, and obviously we have that reference document, are we allowed to give same day discounts?
You should be looking your patient in the eye and saying, if I'm billing your VSP, you are getting your same day discount. It's 15% off my fitting fees and all the other appropriate discounts that I have to maintain as a VSP provider. So, no.
What about non-VSP patients? Do you allow doctors to give same-day discounts?
VSP has no control over what you do with private pay patients, other than the fact that you need to be careful on any fee structures on private pay patients versus vision plan patients. So same-day discounts are a gray area. They actually vary by state to state. So you do have to be careful.
Yeah, no, and real quick, I see some other questions, but because I'm really curious about that. Some doctors say that, and you can't really talk about fee structures, I know, publicly, but has there been an established guideline of like percentage? You said it varies state to state, but do you know what the general consensus is across the states or no?
I don't know any specific percentages, Stacy. I don't. We could probably. That's a general enough question that we might be able to run that through and just say, what is VSP's position on same-day discounts in general for private pay patients? Because that would apply as much to a well vision exam as it would to contact lens fitting, and that would be one to get back to the group with. I think it's not going to be a matter of what the percentage is. If you're going to get in trouble, they don't care what the number is. They just care that you've got a different fee schedule than you do for a vision plan patient.
You can definitely look into that. Thank you. Okay, Dr. Burke.
Okay, I wanted to kind of revisit what Dr. Rebecca Lee had asked about before. I was taking notes so furiously on that part. If we could revisit that. So she had asked if the patient doesn't, I just want to make sure this is what she was asking. If the patient doesn't meet that 2-line threshold and say they've got keratoconus, but you still complete that fit, you could, with like their exam copay one, you're saying that VSP will make me whole on my fitting fee there, but the patient would have to pay out of pocket, basically minus their $120 for the lenses. Is that correct?
Yeah. So basically, if you've got, let's be realistic. A patient in many cases is not even going to know they're going to have visually necessary contact lenses. The doctor is the one that's going to initiate the utilization of that plan because they understand it and they're going to do it for the service of the patient. So you are now initiating a fitting, whether it's a specialty fit or a general fit. And if they do not make the requirements for a visually necessary contact lens, even if they don't have it, even if they have it, you can't use it. So that means it falls back to their elective contact lens allowances. So then all of the same rules apply in that elective contact lens as they would with a visually necessary contact lens. But you have to be smart and think about, okay, well, what would a doctor that's trying to abuse this system potentially do? And that would be something to the effect of, even if they do qualify for visually necessary contact lenses, they choose not to use it because they've done the math and maybe figured out I'll get as much or more if I use their elective contact lens plan and get payments from VSP and balance bill the patient. So the key is you just need to do what's right. If they apply, if they qualify for the program, use it. If they don't qualify for the program, use their elective plan, but you need to document appropriately and justify why you did that. Because the reverse could happen. You go through that and they realize that, well, you didn't use the visually necessary contact lens plan, but they technically were eligible for it. Then you're going to get in trouble. And again, when it comes to somebody actually questioning what you're doing, it's going to be because you're popping up as being unusual compared to your peers. So billing a scleral lens and being compensated for that at the appropriate levels under that copay plan is going to look unusual compared to fitting somebody in a bunch of, AccuView Oasis lenses. That doesn't mean that you're doing something wrong, as long as you're doing it appropriately, and most importantly, you're documenting that that is your usual and customary fees and level of care.
Understood. I have one last question. Can we go over, for instance, the high ametropia? For instance, say the patient's been wearing dailies and they qualify, but the allowance is more than our cost. What is the proper protocol of how to handle that?
So that's a program that that's a part of the program that VSP was struggling with for several years. And that's because the fee schedule for the covered contact lenses and the base lenses were developed a number of years ago. And the categories that were getting into question were revolving around mainly silicone hydrogel, especially silicone hydrogel dailies, especially for astigmatism and presbyopia. And honestly, those lenses did not even exist when those fee schedules were made. At the time those fee schedules were made, they basically covered 90+% of all billing situations that were occurring at the time. And VSP was slow to keep up with the trends in the industry. They addressed that in January of this year by raising the fees in especially the daily disposable categories. And I've talked to VSP in preparation of this course to ask, what is our incidence of complaints in that realm since then? And it's gone down significantly. Does that mean there aren't still lenses out there that may fall outside of the caps? There still are, especially if you get into specialty silicone hydrogel daily multifocals. But VSP made an effort in January. It addressed the majority of the cases. They, at this point, if you or doctors are running into situations where that's still occurring, you just need to report it to them, either directly through customer service or because you're ambassadors through the ambassador system. And the more feedback they get, the more likely they are to reevaluate the system again. But I mean, that has been a known problem that was addressed in January, addressed the majority of them, but not all. And your repercussions, what can you do? Not really anything as far as the contract go. I've had some pretty deep discussions with doctors on this, and there are oftentimes, I won't say often, there are times where maybe a patient or a doctor wants a level of lens that is at this level, but they can get as good or better visual acuity and comfort with a lens that maybe is not at that level. So choosing what lens you're fitting under the program is part of that equation.
Thanks, Jim.
Yep.
Thank you. All right, Dr. Curtis.
Yeah, this is kind of a question for the crowd. Is anybody using video to train new patients on insertion and removal? And if so, is there one that you have found works well in your office?
I did for years, and I don't know of a modern source.
I just
Any-
staff time. we struggle
I
with
can
staff
answer that
time to have
question.
someone be able to step away at all, to spend time. And even if we got started with the video, I'd be interested in something like that.
Dr. Lee,
yeah.
was that you saying you
I
had
can
a
answer that
response?
question. Yes, yes. So what we do is we do a two-part training. So we actually have QR codes in our office that the manufacturer, like various manufacturers, can provide this. So I would have the patients scan the QR code and have them watch the video on their phone. Or if
Okay.
I know that they're coming in on a specific day for training, we would send them the video ahead of time. So they watch the video first, and then my
That's a
staff
good
would
idea.
sit with them to train. So it's like two-part where they watch it first, and then the staff comes in. Actually, to follow up on that question, for the contact lens training, is it allowed to charge the patient a separate fee for the training that's not included in the contact lens evaluation fee in
No,
VSP's
that was a
opinion?
specific line item on one of those slides. And what I would encourage that you should have in your published contact lens fee schedule is that you have a differentiation between a new fit and a refit, which is primarily going to be your training. And you can have different usual and customary fee schedules for a new fit versus a refit. And that's the way that you're going to handle that situation.
Okay, got it. Since I'm here, can I ask my question?
Yes.
So let's say there's a patient who has high ametropia and they work from home most of the time. They might wear glasses half the time, but they wear contact lenses when they go to the office. So for that patient, they might not need 720 units of lenses for the annual supply. To them, the annual supply is maybe half of that, let's say 360 units. Would they still qualify for the visually necessary program if we only bill 360 lenses?
By
Like,
the
is that
letter
going
of
to trigger
law,
any
you were supposed.
suspicion?
I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead and finish that last one.
No, is that going to trigger any kind of outlier or red flag from VSP?
No, in fact, by the letter of the law, you should provide them with an annual supply of lenses regardless of their wearing schedule, which may result in them having more than a year's supply realistically, but you are documenting that you have supplied them with a conventional and accepted annual supply of lenses. You're probably more likely to create a problem if you only gave them 6 months than if you gave them the full annual supply.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Dr. Webb?
So let me just make sure I understand on the authorization. So when you click, of course, exam, you can get one authorization and the materials is a different one. So when you click contact lens under materials, then they bundle the 92310 with the contact lens materials in that one authorization. Is that accurate?
I believe, well, it depends on no, let me think about what you're asking. I believe that is true, yes.
Okay, so when, again, if they go somewhere else and get the contacts and VSP has to, release the material benefits, but if it's bundled, what happens to the 92310? Do they go back and pull it from you as the doctor and release it to the new person?
No, that's why the system gives them troubles when they walk with their prescription and try to get them elsewhere. Or even if they came back to your office and tried to get them on a separate day after you made the claim. And that's why you have to call VSP to basically reopen that authorization.
Okay, so they reopen the authorization, leaving you with the 92310 benefit. They don't pull that back from you, and they just open it up for them to add to that existing authorization the
Correct.
charges for the contacts.
Let's say it was a 105 allowance plan, and just for simple math, you charge them $55 for your evaluation, and it came out to $55 after your 15% discount. So that leaves them $50 for their materials. VSP, when that is reopened, will calculate that they paid you as Dr. One the $55, they'll deduce that from the 105 to then say to the next provider, or if it's you on a different day, you have $50 left.
Got it. Okay. Is there a way to have the system do where you can have an exam authorization and a contact, the 92310 with the contact lens eval authorization, so that the materials are entirely separate for frame, lenses, and contacts?
Not that I know of, and I doubt, because it's a legacy system, there's probably there's such a small percentage of patients that are splitting it that way. They're not going to be probably overly motivated to try to change a legacy system in that regard. It's a good suggestion. We can always, I mean, we're never going to get changes unless we give them suggestions like that, but they're going to look at the math and say, well, we've only got 20% or less of claims that actually get materials elsewhere, so nope, we're not going to invest in that.
Can definitely take that feedback in, though. Yeah.
The big key is it's one of the main motivators to hey, get your annual supply with me. Use up, even if you don't get your annual supply, use up your benefits while you're here. And that's why for me over the years with that just the basic evaluation, because let's face it, it's pretty, how often are you going to have a patient that goes through a complete fitting with you and then they decide, oh, well, I'm going to go get them at Costco? It happens, but it's much more likely that you've got a patient coming into the office, usually a new patient. They're wearing I'll just pick on AccuView. They're wearing an AccuView Oasis. Say, yeah, I get my lenses at Costco. I just want a copy of my script. That happens quite a bit. And so for me, I just advise them. It's like, well, I'll be happy to use your authorization for that evaluation, but it's going to create a hassle when you try to get your lenses. I would just advise you to pay me your contact lens evaluation fee with your discount out of pocket today, and then I'm not going to touch your benefits. They're there waiting for you. You can use them wherever you want. That's a personal preference, personal advice, but it's made my life a lot easier. That makes sense to people? I guess so.
Getting head nods, yes, and thumbs up. Any other questions? Seeing none. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Winnick. If you all could just take a quick moment and scan this QR code. We just have a couple questions that we'd like to get your feedback on in terms of the training that Dr. Winnick delivered today, because it is brand new. And we'll be sharing this feedback back with the product team and the Premier Edge training and education team. So please take a moment and scan that. I'll hang on for a minute if anyone needs to. If there's no other questions, then Dr. Winnick can hop. But thank you very much, Dr. Winnick. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. I hope you got at least a couple of tips out of there that you can share in your own office or with your peers. And give us good, honest feedback so we can make it better if we need to. Everybody have a good end to your week. We'll see you.
Thanks.
You as well.